Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dimension Magic Games YouTube channel. We're here today to do kind of a roundtable discussion about the format that was. There's only one event left in the US at least this season in Virginia for the Wave 1 Regional. So we're just going to kind of talk about the decks, what we liked, what we didn't like. So we've got a bunch of questions to go through. But before we get to that, I just want to introduce everybody that's here. So to begin with, we've got Biriar,
Yo.
we've got Daniel,
Yep.
Jamal,
What's poppin'?
Max,
Yo.
Jerry,
Totally.
and Will.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
All right, so I think everybody's already been on the channel, so a lot of familiar faces, but we'll go through. I've got 8 questions here. There's 8 life in Masters, so 8 questions to run through. So the first question we're going to discuss is the deck of the format. So we have the stats for the decks that did the best. Red Vegeta and Yellow Nova had the most tops of all the decks, but instead of looking at the data, how we felt, right? When played to its ceiling, this deck is the best deck in the room. So we had a lot of similar answers here, so let's start with Jamal. Lead us off with what you think the best deck, if it's played at its ceiling in the format, is.
Yeah, for sure. I think the best deck is Gamma, especially if we're talking about ceiling. It is probably the true definition of that question in and of itself, where I do see, like, at its worst, if you don't know how to play the deck feels really bad. If you don't know what you're doing, you don't understand the sequencing or what the deck wants to do, you'll definitely find yourself in a bad situation in your own testing and say, man, this deck isn't it. This deck isn't fun. I'm just losing all my games. But then when you actually quote unquote master it and just even get closer to its max ceiling, the better results you see. That really is just double downing on what the deck wants to do at all times. So I just feel like, kind of respectfully, that it is that answer. It is the best deck in the room. It just doesn't have the, I guess, the, what's the word? I can't think of the word right now, but not a lot of people are playing it, right? And mainly for those reasons, that it just felt hard to play or hard to understand or execute properly. So
Yeah, when Biriar responded to my little survey, he had a similar. He picked Gamma, but had a nice little quote. Biriar, if you want to share with
Sure.
what you
I
wrote
jotted down
there.
what I wrote. So I wrote down that Gamma V2 is the deck that's impossible to play to the ceiling, but when played close to the ceiling, beats everything. But it's so hard to play at the maximum potential for that deck. Like the guys on the team here, you guys are like dang close to that ceiling, but it's impossible to get that maximum ceiling because those micro decisions we make. Oh, do I do the ramp here? Do I not do the ramp here? Do I do this here? Do I not do that there? These little decisions impact things because then it's what cards are going to be left in your deck when you draw them. All these little things matter. So it's like it's impossible to be 100% with the deck, but we can be at 97, 98%, and we destroy everybody.
Yeah, I chose that deck too, and I think it's just like the testing I've seen specifically come out of Maul and Daniel. Like the combo power comes out of nowhere in that deck. The high roll is insane, and when you run Hatch with it and in all of its aggro potential, the deck can just go wild.
Daniel, you picked that one too, and you had the most recent video on the channel with Gamma. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean the deck is really good. Basically playing with 6 energy on turn 3 onwards is just kind of overpowered. So
Yeah.
I will add
Oh, go ahead.
to that, to the energy thing. I think Gamma has the best turn going second. I think has the best turn 2 currently in the game. Just because going second, you can play with 4 energy on turn 2 if you do the Z charge on turn 1 and set up your Z field so you can awaken on turn 2. So you just get 4 energy while your opponent's sitting there with 2. And that's just, I mean, that can already push you way ahead, and you can do so much with that energy that early. So
Yeah, and I
where
think
everyone else is now playing catch up.
when it was released, people were kind of like obsessed with the premise of the Bardock Spirit boosting and ramping and getting to 17 and all this stuff, and that never really bore itself out in competition. It was just the bread and butter of the archetype really took over.
Right.
So we had 4
Right.
people pick Gamma. I'm gonna throw it to Max. Max had I'd say the wildest of all the picks. So Max, if you want to defend your pick.
Yeah, no. So my pick was actually Blue Bojack because the way it was phrased, it's when the deck is played to its ceiling, the deck is the best, one of the best decks in the room, or is the best deck. And I was just impressed, mostly specifically Dalby, because he's the only person playing the deck currently, and he's doing incredibly well with it, which speaks volumes. Like the fact that he's the only person that chose to play that deck, and he went so far nationals, and he was going very far in all these regionals. And again, he's the only person doing it. So it speaks volumes to how difficult it is to play, because I think we can all agree it is a pretty difficult deck to play, especially once you try to figure out all its super difficult lines. Like I think we said it before over the years past that it has always been, even at its peak, one of the most difficult blue decks to play in general, just because of all the proper sequencing you have to do and everything that's going on. I will say credit where credit is due. I remember Maul did play him in the past regional and he did win, but that wasn't so much of a thing as to speak to Gamma's power. It was just a smart decision on Maul's part, and being a good player, knowing I have to have the Jiren counterplay on my sideboard, so I'm not going to fall for this 17 business. And if you're not smart or you're not aware, it's just going to run you over. And he's still doing it. And I know most of the people that play Gamma, I think they're kind of the same in that sense, where the difficulty level is super high, and they're both very good once you get to that close peak to what they can do. But again, I'm giving it to the Blue Bojack only because he's the only person who's doing it at the moment. And I don't know how many other people would be willing to pick that deck up at the moment, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and he's proven to be the type of player that can, play to the ceiling of these decks. He's a super strong player, so it makes sense that deck would perform in his hands. Jerry and I picked the same deck for this answer. So Jerry, I'll throw to you, and you can share your thoughts, and then I'll chime in before we move on to the next one.
Yeah, I said Yellow Nuova just because, one, like, behind a good pilot, the ceiling's really high for that deck, and it shows with it winning Worlds, right, behind Brian Samuel, 2-time national champ and stuff, right? Like, a good pilot, the deck's going to perform well. And even sometimes there's some not so good players that can win games just because of what the deck does. And it shows with the most consistent tops and stuff, and there's people coming out of nowhere topping with the deck. So it just has really good support. The SCR choices for the deck are insane. The Absolute Annihilator being a broken card, and then it just has everything you want. It has removal, draw power, aggression, big bodies, counter plays. Like, overall, the deck has kind of everything you want in a deck. And behind good players, the deck's going to do very well, unless you get very unlucky and happen to brick all your 4-drops. But overall, I think it's just shown in statistics, too, that it's one of the top decks, right? Like, Gamma's really good with our great players, and that shows, but Gamma can't really carry somebody the way Nuova can,
Yeah, I would agree there. I think Nova has a much higher floor than the decks we've previously mentioned. Like, you can pick up Gamma and just get, and I know from experience, if you don't know what to do, you're like, man, this deck sucks. What am I can't figure this out. It's very hard to play. Nuova is not like that. It's pretty similar sequencing. The game is very linear. I just think Nuova has like the highest combination of broken cards in it. If you ask people what they want to see on the ban list, it's the 3-drop Goku and Absolute Annihilation. It's in there. Gogeta SCR is cracked in half. It's in there. Haze Shenron is potential ban card. It's in there. And you have the 6-drop Goku that's limited to 1, but is basically the finisher. If you watch Nationals and Worlds, that's they're cleaning up. Brian Samuel's cleaning up with that card too. So it just has such a strong combination of cards that are ban worthy. Even
genuinely,
Sin. Go ahead.
Genuinely, all I heard you say was ban the whole deck at this point. Like, it's just doing way too much, and I do agree 100%. Like we've always said before, you want to play decks that at a certain point can just carry you, because every now and then during a tournament, a good deck will fail you, but a really great deck isn't gonna do that. It'll pick up to where you couldn't draw the card that you need to play the game, and your leader will just cover the rest. And that's pretty much what Nuova does. It's just really impressive.
Yeah, Nuova. Go ahead, Jerry.
I was gonna say the thing is too. One, there's two SCRs you got to play around, and both have shown to perform very well in the deck, right? We also have Big Pick and Gohan, right? That performs very well, and the deck can transition between like aggro to mid range very easy, right? Like you can start off and swing 30 double strike twice, plus a 15k double strike, plus a unison, plus a leader, like turn 2, turn 3, right? And then you can just transition and play this like mid range control aggro, right? And then it's like, do I swing and tap out my board for Gogeta SCR, or am I trying to survive a plus 30k combo off of a SCR going into another 40k swing? So it's like, until you've seen the SCR, you kind of don't know what version to play around because the list plays very similar, right? It's just the lines of plays change. So I think that's like another thing about the deck that kind of sets it up there as well. Versus most of these other decks, it's kind of, you know what they're playing, right? Like the most typical one, almost all the lists are the same. Like, but Nuova, it's like you have different factors to vary into.
Yeah, it can brick, right? I mean, I've seen games where people, they have a bunch of the balls in life and they don't get to put them under the field, or you miss the 4-drop. Like it does have some of the same pitfalls, but yellow is a pretty forgiving color in the sense that you can survive when you don't see that stuff. You can stall until you see your good stuff, and then I don't know, if the world champion picked it and played it and won, so it's got to be up there for sure. All right, so let's transition. I'll start us off here. We went through and we picked the best sleeper pick of the season, meaning the deck that performed way better than you thought it would this season, or had a run in something that you just did not expect to see. So 3 of us picked the same deck. Max, Jamal, and I all picked Piccolo SH, probably an homage to Klinger, who we were getting tortured by this deck in testing, how fast it was, how well he piloted it, and then it feels like it started off as a pet deck for him, and then he realized like, whoa, I can actually like kill people with this, and then he entered and played it and did that and ran all the way to the finals and lost by 5 or 10k combo in the end. So to me, that was the most unexpected. I don't think anyone's ever topped with that list ever, or that leader ever. So to see that was pretty cool. So Max, you have any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, it was just incredibly impressive. I know he put in a lot of work into that deck. Again, I agree with Bobby. Definitely started as a pet deck, and then he was just like, oh, wait a minute. I can do this. And I respect the confidence build up over time and being committed to that deck. And I picked it as a sleeper deck because it was definitely something everybody just completely forgot about. Like, immediately when it came out, everybody just wrote it off. It's just like, this isn't going to do anything. Leader didn't read all that great, but he put the work in to figure out how to pilot it properly. And I think this was the perfect meta to play this deck. Hyper aggressive, it's yellow, which is already, you kind of have to give it credit there just for being yellow. So it has a protection it needs to, go that couple less turns, which other decks do lack. But this is just a super aggressive meta right now. Like almost every deck is trying to like kill each other, or at least push us down to that point of where we can't come back by turn 2, turn 3, and then you really got to navigate your way back. But this is a deck that doesn't let up that kind of aggression.
Maul, you have anything to add there?
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with what you guys said, for sure. I do want to, before I really answer that, I do want to say an honorable mention, because it's not on the list, and it technically is that Blue Bojack, right? That really was a sleeper deck as well, right? That deck hasn't been relevant for a long time, since the UW weird format, and it got support, but like no one paid any attention or any mind to it whatsoever. And then, I mean, second place at World. So, like, if we really talk about sleeper, I don't really know if anything is better than that in theory. But to the whole Piccolo thing, for sure, that was another deck that no one was ever paying attention to, almost ever, even on release, right? And Klinger was able to kind of do something with it. And I think with a lot of help with the team, too, because it did, like you guys said, it started as a pet deck, for sure. And he was just playing it. We weren't really playing. It was just, let's play games, and he would, play that deck, whip it out. And I credit to him because he kind of figured it out how he needed to. I know me and him had a conversation at one point, kind of tinker with the deck, make those final edits to try to push it over to the next level. Almost to a point there after our conversation, I was like, oh, should I buy these cards off a TCG player? Like, I'm kind of excited to play this deck after what we kind of evolved it into from what it was. and that's only about 5% of the deck. Everything else was, his own original idea, for sure. But it is definitely also a sleeper deck, and it's a good deck. Like you said, aggro yellow has the control elements that it needs to have. It's very consistent. It has some actually really silly interactions. The barrier removal with the pan. And, that pan has always been a good card. It's just how do you use her? How do you take advantage of her? And now you have it, and just a lot of swings. It's very annoying. It was also always one of those decks that, one bean and the deck sucks. And I just think now it's kind of transgressed that even ideology there. Like Max said, you're putting pressure to a point where, fine, you don't die that turn, but like, how much can you really do the next 2 turns when you're sitting at 2 or 3 life and you gotta not actually die? So
that pan that you mentioned, probably one of the most broken cards in the deck. Let's be real.
for sure,
Just to follow up with that, because I remember Legends was playing Nuova, and he even put that pan into that deck and ran a whole tournament with it, and just and took it down. And he's just like, this pan is broken. And then when he had to change his build, he was bending his back over in half, trying to figure out how to keep the pan in the deck because he did not want to take it out. And everyone's just like, it doesn't fit in this deck anymore. You got to take it out. And he's just like, no, we can make it work. And we're just like, no, it's not happening.
That's one of those stealing cards, right? If you can figure out how to make it work, it's busted. And the best place happens to be your own home, which really takes advantage of it. And if it was broken in something like Nuova, imagine in a deck that can pretty much play it very, very mind-numbingly free. So.
Yeah, a lot of the cards in that deck had that, right? I think like the Z Fighter Gohan Unison is like one of those cards where we all looked at it and like, man, if we could figure out what to play this in, this is still broken. And there just wasn't like a great choice in the meta, and he found it. All right, so BRR, you had a good one here. If you want to go through your pick, you're the only one that picked this one.
Yeah, I picked Adventure Time. Since Raymond's top with it a few months ago, and was it Mosquito or whatever? There's always been a Adventure Time topping somewhere, right? There's always somebody topping with it, and the beautiful thing about it is
top with Adventure.
Well, someone else topped with it.
Was there
this past weekend? Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing that's nice about it is the deck has really good matchups, genuinely, into the whole floor. In all honesty, I remember even it was crazy, and the only thing that was like rough was how to navigate that Vegeta matchup, right? How do we do it? And obviously, Raymond cracked the code, right? And the gentleman who topped this past weekend, I think he copied Raymond's list anyway. So obviously, he's using a proven strategy, a proven recipe at this point, right? And that's what it is, right? Like we had the homework was, how do we beat the Vegeta matchup? Because everything else, what are they doing to you? Green can't beat you. Black is somewhat rough because if they warp your Bomos, okay, whatever, but only a little bit, right? But what does every other color do? They can't clear your board. They can't touch your stuff, and they're just accruing value and playing the game and just doing the free hand control with Ryamcha and all that. It's great deck.
Yeah, it was not looked at as one of the premier Green Saiyan decks to start the format, I don't think. But coming out of the format, I think people are looking into it. Jerry, you picked another green deck as your choice, if you want to go through that.
I said Cell. Fortunately, it's only been one player, I think, which is the Pizza King, Jared Lopez. I think he's the only one that I can recall that topped with it, even including Nats, right? He did it again at Mesquite. But it's kind of like most people kind of thought it fell off this format with the upcoming of Helmet Jita and stuff like that. So I was kind of surprised to see how well it did at Nats, and then the top like just didn't get into good pilot. But yeah, so that's why I kind of said Cell. Just was kind of off the map, unexpected. Nobody was really paying attention to it anymore.
Yeah, it kind of lives and dies with the promo. That got printed a couple supports ago whenever that came out. But if you see that and you do it, it's definitely a good deck.
Yeah, right. And I ran a couple games against it at Mesquite with Jared after, and he just built it 50 card consistency, and it kind of shows why it did well. But yeah, you gotta see that promo where you kind of struggle.
All right, so we got 2 left. These are one I agree with is a real big sleeper pick, and the other one I want this person to defend, so I'll save them for last. So Daniel, your pick, I think is a spicy pick. If you want to go through why you picked it.
Yeah, Power Wish. It's I think we can all agree that there was a lot of hype around this deck when it was first unveiled. It's got near infinite draw potential, near infinite Z charging, and the hype kind of died down because nothing really happened. But as of recent, we saw that it's a pretty good burn strategy in this meta, so pretty freaking good.
Yeah, I've played against that guy too, and I've seen his different builds from where he was trying to like mill you out with the Frieza SPR, or now his burn route that he's doing with Scramble. The guy's a master of the list, and I think that he'll continue to like find different versions to catch people off guard. It's a very cool deck.
Yeah, I think Pyro is one of those decks that people wanted it to be good, right? We got the draft box or the box topper unison rares, and everyone's like, "Oh, what's this for?" And we get the deck, and it's like, "Oh, the deck's might not be the right color, red might not be where it needs to be, or it's missing something, or how good is this strategy really?" And it can do so much. It has so many different options and avenues that type style of deck can take because every unison is pretty much different, and it does kind of rely on those unisons. And this guy, I heard his story that that's all he played, and he just was trying and trying, like kind of how you said, Will, trying to figure out the best way to build it, best way to play it and navigate it. And I believe it was in Canada where Niagara Falls, where he kind of, I think he found the version that he liked and he did really, really well with it. And it is one of those very be hyper aggressive type of strategies and then burn your opponent and just kind of get those good floodgates going early just because of the color and the style of the deck being allowing you to access a lot of stuff sooner than most other decks can. I mean, it is definitely a sleeper pick. I can see the value, and I agree with that.
Yeah, I think it was a very cool deck. Sorry about that, Bobby, but when it came out, I'm sure a lot of people would have loved to play the deck, but I think it also kind of fell off just a little bit, not just because of how difficult it was to figure out, but let's be real, that barrier of entry to build the deck wasn't possible.
Yeah,
At $200-300 for a unison, and you need two of them, then the others were 50s to 100s. There was no way it wasn't happening. I'm sure once people saw that price tag, they're like, "Well, figure it out later."
Yeah, and if you, I know I've shouted these guys out a couple times, but Chino over at the Most Powerful Union, they're streaming locals all the time from Central Florida, and I'm pretty sure the player who is topping with Power Wish plays there, and I've seen a Power Wish deck on stream there often. So he's been, whoever's playing is putting in the work. I wish I knew his name so I could give him credit. Maybe I'll add it in post. We'll see if I can figure it out. But the last sleeper pick, Will, you picked kind of a spicy one here.
Yeah, after hearing your sleeper picks, I think that those were definitely higher sleepers, but I chose Yellow Broly. I think on paper, the deck's just super simple, right? Like you go down to 4 life and then you don't draw many cards. You tap all your energy at the beginning of your turn to proc your effects. The Bulma is a little bit spicier, right? With the sequence of autos to keep some energy up. But on paper, the deck's just so simple. And you can kind of like figure out pretty easily, destroy their hand, hit them with 25Ks and higher, and grind them down. But it continues to perform, and I thought that was, just kind of surprising to me from the beginning of this format to where we are now, seeing the results. I thought it was a bit of a sleeper.
Yeah, it's definitely like a very high floor deck, right? A lot of leaders probably just can't handle a 25K base leader. That's very prohibitive for some.
There's a lot of tech choices too. I can't even name them all, but a lot of spice you can fit in.
Yeah, we've seen it perform super well in Europe. Some of the best players over there have been playing it pretty consistently, and we saw it perform this weekend too. So it makes sense. All right, this one's a little bit spicier. The most annoying deck. So this is the deck when you show up at a table to play, you are just super bummed out that it's across from you. 3 people picked the same one, and then we have some other different choices. So I'll throw it to Biriar. Biriar, what did you pick? And then Max and Will, you can hop in.
I picked Nova. This deck generally just needs to go. It's overstayed its welcome. It does too much of everything. The lines of frustration that come with this deck is infinite, in all honesty, right? The problem is with the deck is you generally don't know what version you're running into. Like most people are going kind of Brian Samuel's version, right? And the scary thing is Brian Samuel's version is kind of a hybrid version where it's like, okay, if he draws the nuts on turn 1, turn 2 and you tap out, he can just kill you on turn 2. And then there's the controlled versions that run 9-drops in. There's the super aggro versions that the guys in the UK were running where they ran the haze chain and stuff like that, right? So that's already like one thing. You're like, okay, what the heck am I facing, first of all? But then also the power of the deck in combination with the Goji to SCR. You get to late game, you put him down to 3 life, or they let you go down to 3, and you overextend. You're like, cool, I'm going to use the Z extra, tap you out, play Absolute Annihilation with the energy markers, yada yada, and just kill you. And it's too many pain points. And then haze, not letting boss monsters be boss monsters, not letting it's cool for a control color to control, but for a control color to just kill an 8-drop, a 7-drop for doing nothing other than discarding a card is a little ridiculous when you generally think about it. The rest of us are trying to play proper floodgates, so we're not dying to these types of things. And this is like, yeah, go ahead. I dare you to dump. It's like the brainwash no more, right? It's like, go ahead, let's see what happens, right? It's like, this is very frustrating.
Yeah, totally agree with B. I think it's just got a lot of battle tricks. It's got a lot of different ways you could do it. I know myself, I ran it for a regional, and that ability to go aggro in some matchups that you want to do that versus just, okay, take it easy, control style play. The deck's just phenomenal, and you got to respect it every time you're against it. So definitely the most annoying deck to play.
I'm going to be honest. I don't really care about Nova itself. I probably should just put the card down. It could be Shinron for all I care. It's just haze. Me as a black player, when I play the 5-drop and I play against Nova or like Shadow Dragons in general, I'm just like, well, I guess go right to the 8-drop here because I can't do any extra attacks. So it is kind of it's annoying in that sense for sure. It does have a lot of good floodgates, and again, when you're playing black, you have thin lines early game, especially because they have floodgates like Bardock, they have Vegito, and then all of a sudden your resources are starting to get thinned out a little bit. So you have to, make the most of what you have early, so that way you can still try to play your game.
Yeah, that is an annoying deck. Jerry, I want you to tell these guys what you picked.
Yeah, so I picked Gamma. To me, Nuova, I guess as a Helmet Jita player, Nuova was kind of up there, but this format I played Helmet Jita, and I don't think I dropped a game to Nuova in any of the regionals, just because once you kind of figure it out, you kind of know, and I got, the best Helmet Vegeta player to help me test and stuff, Beer over here, so we kind of cracked the Nuova code, and I think we both were pretty much cooking Nuovas all season. But Gamma, it's just annoying. It's not necessarily super hard. It's just annoying because they get so much energy so early, and double strikers, draw 2, and pop this and play this. It's just annoying to play against. So I didn't use this as the hard deck to play against. It's just what was most annoying for me. And it was just Gamma. There's so much stuff they're doing on your turn and their turn, and it's just outside of the team, I haven't lost a Gamma either, really, in regionals or anything. But it's just an annoying deck to play against. Most people are dumb and play into Crown and stuff, though, in the regionals. Me and Beer got so many people with that this season. Luckily, our teammates are smart enough to play around it. But, yeah, it's just an annoying deck just because there's so much going on. And they have double strikers, big double strikers, wipe your board, clear your board for nothing, keep their hand size coming back. So it's just not a combination of everything.
That's probably why they picked it as the best deck, huh?
Probably.
Made the case. All right, so as a blue player, Jamal, playing Gamma, you picked a pretty annoying matchup to play against for you specifically, I think.
Specifically. So mine is obviously a little biased, but I'm a blue player at heart, and the deck hasn't since the ban list or one of the previous ban lists. I picked set 2021, and it's not to say that it's hard. It's not even to say it's unwinnable because I had played against it the last 2 regionals. Both times came down to time, but I'll be honest. If we had maybe 10 more minutes to play the game, I felt like I was favored, and I think I am. I believe it. It's just between time and then you're playing now. I play Gamma, and now you're playing a blue-green deck. You're basically just walking into allowing 21 to do everything and anything they want for free, right? And Gamma is the type of deck that does go relatively wide, and that's kind of your strategy. And so you're just giving them the ammunition, and you don't really have a choice. But it's just annoying for that, where now they can kind of trigger all their effects, do other things, pay their things for free. Full power counter is, still a very broken floodgate. You can play around it, but you're still blue, so you don't have all the Z energy in the world to even play around it realistically. And then the pitch in the card is negligible, but it's just one of those things where it's just annoying. And by no stretch do I think it's hard, right? It's just the first time we played 2 weeks ago, we went into time, and I was able to get that one in time because he was playing a really slower game. And then the last one this past weekend we played, same guy. It went into time as well, but there was a little confusion about time, about an extension or not, blah, blah, blah. But it kind of ultimately allowed him to get the win in time. But if I had a better understanding of the extension, then I still wholeheartedly believe that I would have won that game. I could have just played the last turn a bit different. But just being a blue player, or even really a green player, which I can see why it's a good pick when you have Cells and Zamaso's technically running around and various blue decks running around, where you can see the world where, hey, I can play Android 21 because someone's going to give me something. Something's going to allow me to trigger or get my reduction. And it's always been an annoying deck to play against when you play, especially blue. So
Yeah, it's still out there, even without Pan, even without the 2-drop Z card. It's still full power counter is still a pain to play around. So
right.
definitely still a good annoying deck. All right, Daniel, you picked 2 here. I'll let you roast Biriar.
Yeah, I mean, I think a vast majority of the community can agree with both of my picks. First is Helmet Jita. I mean, premier deck coming out of History of Z. Easy to pilot, incredibly strong for no good reason. It's got great offense, great defense, just because it has access to the black multis, which I don't know. Some people say it shouldn't. At this point, I don't really care. I'm numb to it. It's whatever. All of us here are used to it because of B. It's got Evil Sane, Tenacious, those annoying drawing combo. And then you got the Rose and Vegeta that are free plays. It's got a lot going for it. Plus Dance. And then Barrier Blocker Goku. It's so freaking good.
Turn cards.
And then and then my second pick was Zamasu Mill.
Yeah, that's also what I went with. It wasn't super prevalent this format, but I think we still have PTSD from the prior format where it was just such a pain. And the format started with Red Vegeta being kind of like the preeminent deck. I think everyone was scared of that deck to start the format. And as the format's gone on, I think people have fallen off of it because you had all the people who were going to play it because it was easy, and then realized, actually people know what they're doing. It's not, it's not like this kingpin of a deck. It can go down. So Zamasu Mill starts to creep up again, and I only play decks that draw cards. That's the only thing I like to do in Dragon Ball is draw cards. So playing against a mill deck is just it's no fun. I hate it. And if you play Oceanus, it also applies to your deck. Because playing Frieza Swap this format a lot, anytime someone played Oceanus, that was just the end of my turn, and I hated it. It was not fun. So
yeah, I definitely agree with you. I really think for annoying Mill, I don't think there's a single soul in the game or any card game that says I enjoy or I'm okay with playing against Mill. There's not a single deck or strategy really for the most part, because there's not a lot of things to say. It warps the way you have to play the game no matter what. All right, you have to adjust. You cannot play how you might have been testing for X amount of time and saying these are my lines, these are what I want my deck to do. And you sit across the mill deck and it's like, well, not doing that, and probably not doing that. I just remember even playing U7 where that deck draws a lot. We used to talk about mill versus mill and like kind of just have to not draw sometimes, which feels really bad to say out loud, right? But then you don't have a choice. So
yeah, I'm not gonna say Mill or the Zamasu specifically is annoying, I do agree that it is not fun to play against in that sense because, like you said, like it's just not an enjoyable experience. You're like, all right, well, get this over with, move on with my life. And I think there is a little bit of a difference between the two because I'll play. I will know when I'm annoyed against the deck, but if I sit against Mill, I know I'm just not going to have fun.
That's annoying
Yeah,
to me.
like it's
It's annoying.
to me it's not as annoying, but I think as a Helmet Jita player, it was because me and Beer we weren't worried about mill decks. Cooler mills, a monster mill, it didn't matter. Like we're gonna kill you before you mill us out. So
Just
we
kill
kind
it.
of have
Don't
fun.
activate main, dude. We don't have to mill. We don't have to
Yeah.
draw to. We don't care.
Yeah, and so they bring back Android 18, token 18, and let you and
Oh,
start milling you there.
the Church
Yeah,
of
good luck.
Frank?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
They bring
go
back
ahead.
the Church of Frank? I'm down.
Yeah. So I mean, when I say mill, I mean all around the idea of it, right? Not a specific
Yeah,
deck. Because best believe Vegeta would get cooked by Overdrive Frieza. So
that's what I'm
Everybody,
saying.
y'all about to be annoyed then with the anniversary box support because everybody's gonna be back on the mill.
I mean, we'll see what happens. But no, to clarify, yeah, Mill not fun. What's annoying is when you sit across from Raymond and he's got 20 different floodgates in his deck, and you're just like,
Yeah.
all right, we're just gonna sit here and just look at each other for 45 minutes. Actually, like 3 hours when we're practicing. So,
right, which is why we
yeah,
always tell him every deck idea he has or game he plays. He's like, this deck's really good. I'm like, you won't have enough time to do what you did. You got to be realistic. No one's gonna let you play for 3 hours. You get the win. So.
I think the annoying thing though with Zamasu Mill more specifically is obviously I know some colors they can't handle the indestructible, whatever, right? But I think the big thing is the deck not only does it mill good, it aggro's good, but the biggest thing is its hand size is gigantic, right? Most of the other mill decks, right? They do their mill thing, no problem. We know that. Cooler mill, at best you're having 10 cards in hand, unless you're getting a miracle run, right? Sin Zeno, I know with the new support also gets like maybe 12 cards in hand, which is still pretty decent, but like Zamasu Mill, 14, 16. I've had games where I've had 22 cards in hand playing Zamasu Mill. I'm just looking at my opponent like, all right, go ahead, play your game. No, I'm not even going to floodgate you. Swing at me. What are you going to do? I have 22 in hand. What's your game plan against that? Right? I think that's part of it.
Yeah, they've always
yeah. I think
gatekeep Mill from green. I think for a reason.
Yeah.
Like, this is the first green Mill deck with DPU. I don't like it.
Sure. I think the biggest difference between this and the other mill decks, I can't speak too much for the Black Sin deck. I've only played against it a few times, and it never really impressed me. But the cooler mill and whatnot, you have a clean answer in Koitsukai because they have to play on your turn, so everybody knows like, oh, I can play this card. When you play against something like Masu Mill, you have to start putting in cards you normally wouldn't have. Like when we built U7, we put in the 8-drop Red Vegeta because you had to have it. Black put in the 8-drop Gogeta card and all this other weird wonky stuff in the main deck that you normally wouldn't have just in general because you needed to have the answers right there to be able to win the game. And it always didn't necessarily always fit into what your deck was trying to do. And it just made it kind of weird. So the answers were never clean. We're just like, all right, let's turn them sideways and hope for the best.
Yeah, and the same people who play Green Zamasu are watching this video and they are just eating it up, dude. They love this. This is what they want. They feed on this. They're so excited that we're complaining about it. All right, so the next one. I didn't give any guidelines here. I just said, what's the strongest card in the format? What is the absolute best card in the format? Now, a lot of us picked the same card. I think four of us had the same card. So I'll start this one. Gogeta, Yellow Gogeta SCR is, I think, the single most broken card that exists at the moment. It may or may not get touched. That's one that gets talked about a lot, but just the energy markers coming down. It's so hard to play around. It's so hard to not put your opponent to 3 life. It's basically free as long as they have 4 cards in rest mode. It can dig you out of such bad situations. If for some reason they didn't save a negate, you just win the game with Quad Strike. There's so many things about it that are busted. So I know, Daniel, you picked this one as well. If you want anything to add there, or
Yeah, I mean, it's the best SDR in the game, I think. Got the highest ceiling, and worth every penny. Yeah, so if you can buy it, do that.
yeah, please don't hit it. I own it. Let me sell it first.
Same.
Give me a warning. B, you picked it too.
Yeah, I I despise this SCR. It's so stupid. The amount of games in regionals where I know for a fact I'm in a hard winning position, and they just go, "Oh, we're gonna play this quad strike SCR, get all these markers," and suddenly now I'm on the back foot. And like, no matter what I do now in regionals, whenever I face any yellow deck, I don't care how my turn's going. I don't care how ahead I am. I am passing with 3 or 4 energy up every turn. If you're at 3 or less life, I don't care. I'll play one card and pass just because then I said, "Oh, we'll go to time. I'll beat you in time, buddy. I'm playing red. I got burned. You want to play the slow game? No problem. I'm not letting you tap 4 to play that card and get 20 markers. Suffer." That is the level of hatred I have. I'm getting heated just thinking about it, man. I hate that card.
You
Oh
forgot,
my god.
you said it indirectly, but it's the fact that it enables annihilation so easily.
Yes.
Like that's the ringer.
If
You
it gets
get 10
banned,
markers and all of a sudden annihilation is cheap. And you still have 7 more moves to make, you know what I mean?
and then the worst part on top of that too is even if they ban absolute annihilation, we know what's going to happen. People are just going to start playing the TOP freezes 7-drop, and they're going to start coming up with maniacal ways to tap out your opponent's cards so they can guarantee get their 7 or 10 energy markers and go, tap 7, here's his Frieza, go ahead and play the game now. Oh, you got to credit life to breathe oxygen. Oh, you got to credit life to do this? Well, I guess you're not allowed to play yellow unless you own this Gogeta SCR. So then what happens is yellow players now are priced into, can you spend $400 or $500 on this one card? Oh, you can't? Sorry, you can't play the color. You have to have this or you're not allowed to play. That's the problem.
Jerry?
Yeah, I mean, to go off what Beer's saying, he kind of hit what I was going to say, too. One, like, these guys have seen it when I was testing Nuova stuff. I was playing the 7-drop Frieza. Like, I think that card's busted. Like, on the back of that SCR, when you play it for basically nothing, and then your opponent can't activate any skills, like, they spend their whole turn trying to figure out how to kill the Frieza, you know, just so they don't die. Like, I agree with that. And, like, the fact that it's the SCR plays off of rest mode things, and yellow's a color that rests your things, like, it just adds to the value of that SCR. So it's like, no matter what you try to play around, it's like somehow you're going to give them at least like 4 or 5 markers. Like, if it had like a cap, like, oh, you can only get 3 markers, or if the game had a rule of like, oh, you can only have up to 3 energy markers, it'd be a little bit more balanced. But when you can, I mean, I've played games where I've gotten like 10, 11 energy markers off that thing just because I'm able to rest their stuff and everything. And then you just tap out, have defense, whatever. I mean, I've had to play through it. Red got kind of buff with Beast Gohan, allowing me to combo off my rest mode stuff so they don't get as many markers from me going aggro. But yeah, it just opens up the ceiling. And like Beer said, you know, once they get rid of Annihilator, more people are going to jump on the 7-drop Frieza train. Like, that card's absolutely cracked. It's just nobody ever wanted to pay 7 for it before the SCR, right? Like, it's just... And then it board wipes, right? That's the other thing. It board wipes. So it's like, oh, you have all this stuff? Cool, I'm just going to remove your whole board. All right, let's go. I got 10 markers now from all that stuff I just removed.
Yeah, it is an insane card. We've got another SCR pick that two of our players chose, and I think Jamal brought it back along with Daniel. This card was kind of looked over for quite some time, and now you're picking it as the best card in the format. So I'll let Jamal go ahead, and then Max can add.
Yeah, for sure. So I look the best. Oh, before I even say this, because it kind of transitions to the whole Gogeta SCR thing, is that as great as that is, and it does open up a lot of broken play lines for sure, and broken strategies. And the last about 3 out of 4 games, 4 out of 5 games that I've played against in tournament against someone playing Gogeta SCR, it was very negligible because they always had 2 cards in their hand. And obviously that's the thing of, you know, maybe 1 card in their hand and it was just that card, or 1 and that card. And so they would play it and slam it. And it was like, okay, I mean, I guess, you know, that's cute. But I do see, like, on the ceiling, like, how broken it is. And if you don't, and I'm playing a deck that can put that aggression on them. So it puts them in that situation where it's not impactful. But, like, that's just being biased, right? I do understand the power level of what it can do, what it opens up, and how silly it really truly is as an SCR. I mean, it is take another turn, right? It's a yellow Kaioken, right, essentially. and you can only do so much to play around giving it energy. Even those times where those players played against me, they would get like 8-9 markers, but it was just like, well, you have no cards in hand, so what are you really going to do with that? And the other reason is because what I think is the actual best card in the format kind of counters that entirely, where no matter how many markers you get, no matter how many cards you might have in your hand, Hatch, you're not killing me. You can get 20 markers. You're not killing me this turn. Annihilation doesn't stop Hatch. Hatch is that I'm guaranteed to take another turn. I'm guaranteed to not die this turn, all but be it against a burn deck, I guess, in some weird world, right? And so Hatch just says, hey, no matter what I do, I'm good, and especially in these blue, Hatch used to kind of be, it fell out of format just because it was a very redundant card. If you really think about it, it was just another floodgate when blue had good floodgates, before all those new floodgate style things have kind of came out, where now it's like, well, do I really need Hatch when I could just Defending Friends or this or that to just get to the next turn anyway, right? But now you have that all of those cards in blue floodgates are terrible, right? They're horrible for blue, which is part of the reason why blue's not played. They're really the main reason. So then now you got this new strategy where blue used to be a slower control deck, or more mid-rangey. And so Beast Hunter was very, very prevalent because it kind of doubled down, especially in those mid-range strategies, to say, hey, let me get an extra swing and let me get an extra this, another dual attacker in this, or untapped Soul Striker, blah, blah, blah. But then now we're getting more aggressive, really aggressive blue decks, and Hatch in an aggro blue deck is quite arguably the most broken thing in the world, because now you get to just do everything and anything you want to do on your turn all your cards. You're not killing me. So either you can wipe my board, and if you can't, I can do it again with the board. And even if you kill my board, guess what? Want to see a magic trick? Can do it again. So can you survive 2 turns of a huge push from these aggro blue strategies? And the short answer is normally no, every single time. And against the Gogeta thing is, well, yeah, you can Gogeta me, but I can hatch you. So, okay, fine, you have your markers, but how much defense do you really have? Just because you have 8 markers doesn't mean I'm dying. I had a guy do the Gogeta line that Usai said, and he was playing U7, and he played the 7-drop TOP Frieza, and now he goes swing, and I think I was at 3 life or something like that, and I was just like, okay, hatch, and it was his last card in his hand. And he was like, well, I guess I lose. So it's just one of those things that Hatch just does so much. You feel safe. I've won so many games. I like to tempt people. I'll go down to 1 life on purpose every single time. You know what I mean? And they're like, oh, I got you. Because for me, it's like, oh, I'll just take my draws. Thanks for the free cards. And they're thinking I don't have it or I can't combo out. And then that last swing, you go hatch. For Gamma, you go hatch into Bad Omen. The amount of times I've done that is ridiculous, right? Where I just set up the Bad Omen maybe a few turns prior or that turn before. I'm at 1, push them in. They're at 1 life, and they're like, okay, I get my turn. I get my chance to kill you now after you did all that. And then it's just like, there's a hatch in your deck, So it's just, to me, it's just single. If we're talking about single strongest, I know it's a SCR, which probably people might argue, well, that shouldn't be on a list of cards like that, but it is. I mean, what more can you ask for a card that can't be stopped? There's 1 card in this entire game, I guess arguably 2, that can stop the card, and one is the Black Goku. That's the counter, if I'm not mistaken, and you can only play it in
counters, right?
1 deck, and then Golden Avenger. And again, you're not playing Hatch if they have 5 open, and against Black, can they really afford to have 3 open and counter? And if they're doing that, then they're probably not killing you anyway. So it's just
resistance hits it too, right?
Yeah.
Does it?
Yeah.
Right.
Which will be relevant.
Which will be interesting going forward into when we get the anti-box, right? But right now, no one's playing Almighty. And again, if you want to leave to open to stop my hatch, you're still tapping 2. So then how much pressure are you giving up to stop my counter against still a blue deck that still has all the other things that it can do to be defensive, right? Hatch just allows you to not die that turn or bridge a turn. Excuse me, it doesn't necessarily mean that's your only way to not die. So.
Max, you also picked Hatch. Jamal covered a lot there. Do you have any?
Yeah. No. I mean, I do agree. To be fair, like the power level of a Gogeta SCR does also come from that hand size, so I understand how it's negligible if you have like 2-3 cards in hand. You probably winning that game regardless of the SCR comes down. But if they have good players, like the really, really good players that separate themselves from the pack, like obviously just this past regional, it was DeCas playing the Gogeta SCR. Legends obviously has played the Gogeta SCR multiple times, and like Nova, they always make sure to maintain that hand size and sculpt themselves a potential victory. Or if they can't kill you, they just make a bunch of markers, swing, they get negated, and they're like, I'll pass. And they have 15 cards in hand, and they're ready for the next turn, and they'll follow up on the following turn. So in a sense, to me, it's kind of like, as long as you do it right and you know what you're doing, it's kind of like a main phase on your turn, low key, kind of like a baby hatch, because you're prepared for the rest of the 2, 3 next following turns because you got it all, and they just save the markers for future turns. Sometimes they just carry on for the next 3 turns with just living off the markers, and it's pretty broken in that sense. But I did pick baby hatch as well. I think it's a very, very good card right now, especially when we're in a format where the ceiling for some decks on turn 3 is 11 swings. I'm like, I don't want to take that. So I'm just like, I just need to stop the turn button. I'm just like, we're not doing this today. I'm not losing all these cards for no reason. It's very good, and I do think before we were playing the Beast Hunt on a lot of decks, because like when, let's say for example, Tapion, when it was at its peak, the floodgates were good enough to where you didn't have to have something like Hatch, and you could use Beast Hunt to match the level of aggression everybody else was doing to close out games. And your deck was also putting out enough pressure equal to what other people were putting out as well, because your swings were tall and you had enough to match it. But now we don't have that. Blue, you really need something extra to soften the blow a little bit to save resources, because everyone has 15, 20 card hands, so defending French isn't going to do as much as it used to anymore. The only other like real floodgate besides Baby Hatch, I would say, is arguably the Gohan SH, which does shut down a ton of decks. Actually, almost all of them for turns 2 and 3 if you have it. So that one's very, very good. But the rest are, it's just not enough. And most people, when they see a Hatch on turn 3 or 4, whatever their kill turn is, and they just dumped all their gas, the game's just over. So that's all you need sometimes.
Yeah, it's the opposite of what Jamal said about Blue having so many floodgates in the past that you didn't need Baby Hatch. Now these decks are able to push the aggro so much, you don't even need the Beast Gohan, right? It's almost like the cards I'm playing anyway they're not as good as Beast Gohan, right? But if you're playing these bombs, they can push the aggression fine.
Sure, they're just as powerful. Like everything you have, like in Gamma, you have a turn 2 double strike, potentially dual attacker in that cell. It's just like, all right, what do I need Beast on for? Or you can just reach into your Z deck at this point and find whatever you need to match the same thing you're doing before. It is what it is.
Yeah, I always felt like Beast Han, even back then in its prime, that it was a redundant SDR in the decks that it was being put in. It felt like, hey, your deck is already aggressive. Your deck can already do X, Y, and Z. All you're doing is double downing on the strategy of what the deck already can do, which obviously, like you said, there's value there for sure, right? Just that extra push. And also a card that says, hey, I can never go to 1 or I lose the game is also very broken, right? But it just felt redundant. And I never agreed with the Baby Hatch in any of these blue decks that I was playing, or even that blue meta where it was a little bit more stronger and prevalent, because it was just like, well, why do I need another card to do what my deck's already doing? Especially because blue became an aggro, like Tapion aggro, Gamma aggro. I don't need more cards to do the same thing. I want to keep doing what I'm doing, and how do I get there? And it always felt for me too, really, Beast Hunt felt like if I didn't win the turn I played it, I lost the game, right? When as great and broken as it is, it always felt like a win more card, because people were like, oh, this card's broken. Well, because you're probably already winning. You know what I mean? And it felt really broken when you were winning, and being able to put them a 1 life and they couldn't stop it, and I got burn you, or 2 life and swing, untap, blah, blah, blah. But like when you're on the back foot, you're putting all those cards back into their hand. And if it doesn't win you that turn, 9.5 out of 10 decks can kill it. So you're not getting the activate battle on your opponent's turn regardless. And then you were probably still going to lose that game now. So that was also one of my problems. Beast Han, to me personally, always felt like the turn you played it was the turn you needed to win if you were normally whenever you would play it.
I don't think that's a fair statement, to be honest with you, in the sense that Beast Hunt is just a win more card. Beast Hunt in general, because we knew it was being played, you did not have the luxury of just going to 2 life. You had to stay at a higher number because you were forced to not take as many cards. So couldn't just say, oh, my life is a resource. It's cool, whatever. Now I have to be extra careful to not go to 2, sometimes not even 3, because some decks just have infinite double strikers for no reason. And there have been let's be honest. I played it before. I don't know how many anybody else in this room has played the Beast Hunt, but there are games where you do just top deck it and you just kind of auto win the game because you did draw it. Like you can
Because
say
you're
it's win more,
already
but
ahead.
it does the same. It did the same thing as Evil Saiyan basically to a lesser extent, but it opened up so many more plays right after that. Because you play it, put them to 2, put them to 1, whatever, because they think they're in the driver's seat. All of a sudden, you got your 5-6 energy back, and yeah, I don't care how many cards I have in hand because I got a Z deck. I can just do that and move on with my life.
Yeah, it's all
Yeah,
contextual, I think.
yeah, I think the idea of the card is not win more. Like I said, going to one, not being able to go to one life is the idea is broken for sure. I'm just saying in the moments that you played it, even kind of what you just explained there is, well, they're like, oh, I'm good, I'm in the driver's seat, but really you are the entire time because you have the beast on, or you said you top deck it and now they're dead, and that's what I mean by a win more card, not maybe in the traditional sense of that word and not overall in its totality, but it did feel like, well, hey, if I can top deck Beaston here on turn 3, well, that means my opponent was probably already dying for this to be the reason that I can kill them.
You could say the same thing about Baby Hatch. You top deck Baby Hatch, and you're like, oh well, now they're just dead because they can't kill me, and I get my turn back.
Yeah, but Baby Hatch isn't the thing killing you per se.
But it is because you get your turn back and you get to do what you want. It's just the same concept.
I think it's slightly different. Beaston doesn't stop you from dying, right? Beaston helps you win while you're winning, and in certain moments it can help you turn the tide in your favor because you can wipe the board. Whereas, like, I think Hatch is like, hey, whether I'm winning or losing, I'm not ever going to lose this turn.
Yeah, I
He's
like
kind of
how
more
you
prepared.
guys are debating those two blue SCRs. One of my least favorite blue SCR is Android 21 because I've got by that card a million times. That's the least.
It's
My
fair and
least.
balance. Fair and
Oh,
Good
balance.
card.
yeah, that's the worst. All right, so
Very good
Will
card.
actually took this homework assignment seriously and picked a non-SCR. So I feel bad that
Yeah,
he
I
did
was
not pick
on
a card
Baby
on
Hatch
this.
train too,
Technically,
honestly. And then
Daniel
I
picked an on SCR as well.
Daniel had an honorable mention. So, Will, if you want to tell us your strongest card in the format, I guess we could say the non-SCR strongest card that you
yeah,
thought.
I was thinking Baby Hatch at first, but then I did want to choose something that wasn't a secret rare because obviously that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to be a one of in your deck to win you the game, right? They're that strong. Baby Hatch, Gogeta, all of them for the most part. But I chose Haze Shinron. You know that you can have 4 of them in your deck. There's no other card in any other color like it that I can think of right now, right? But it basically just nullifies, like 90% of boss monsters. You have to know that card is in the deck, right? So you can cheese people who may not be expecting it, right? But obviously we are, and you have to play around it. But the card's just, a one of a kind for that archetype, and it, causes your opponent to have to play around it in so many different ways, like play barrier and not combo up on anything, you know what I mean? And there's 4 of them in the deck, so that's, pretty good. Haze.
Card's pretty correct. Card is correct. It does turn off a lot of strategies, right? Especially now because we transitioned to this 8-drop format. Regular boss monsters are 8 drops that cost 1 or 2. And, right? And even if it wasn't an 8, right? It's even 6 or higher. Like, how realistically are you getting to 6 energy? And you're like, well, hey, I want to swing and I can kill you. It kills SCRs, right? Most of them. It kills a lot of big strategies, a big swing, that push for push for game. And it's like, well, I got to raise, whether they,
I was
and
playing
I
an
know many
SS4
people have,
Gogeta at a regional, and he dumped on, or he didn't dump, but he swung his quad strike SCR, and I hazed it.
and
And he,
right,
he didn't get my board wipe, nothing. He was just like,
right,
well, shit.
right.
I want to play
There's
that
nothing
guy.
you can do, right? For sure, right. But no, I mean, I see Hayes is correct.
Hopefully, if we do another one of these videos next format, we won't have to talk about Haze because it will be gone. That's my hope. All right, so the next category, we've got the best side deck tech choice. So the card that you sided in that you thought, man, this is sick. This wins me this matchup, or it just had a major impact on your game plan. So I think, surprisingly, 6 out of 7 different cards are listed here. So let's start with Daniel. Daniel, you picked an interesting choice here.
Yeah, I mean, I think any of the anti-mill cards are just great, or rather are going to be great, because it seems like Thomas is kind of having a resurgence right now. recently topped Australia. It topped PPG online regional, and yeah, I mean, if you're not prepared for that, then you're just gonna get blown out.
Yep, for sure. Jamal, you picked a card that you had to maybe not deal with too much, but in theory should have had to deal with.
No, so I picked my pick was Broly Crown, and everyone else on the list kind of picked a little bit more of a generic side deck card, but maybe it's just because red's prevalent, and red will always be somewhat prevalent. There'll always be a red deck in the meta, and as long as that's the case, it has this Crown has the most effect against blue decks, but there are other decks that it does actually hurt if they're not the type of a tap out style of gameplay, right? Most decks can pass with one energy open and still do their things, but like yellow kind of wants to pass with two open for like Sin. Obviously blue wants to as well. Leave up at least one or two energy sometimes, most of the time if it can. And Crown is just one of those cards that you get to get knowledge from a secret area. Whether it's taking this card or not is not really the point. You get to know what your opponent is doing, right? And no one else has that ability right now. Nothing else other than the red Vegito SCR, right? And just for one energy to say, hey, I get to look at your hand. I might be able to take a card that matters. I might not. But I get to know. And knowing in this game, counting combo power, knowing what play lines that they can probably take, what defense they might possibly have for this turn as well, what type of interaction that they have in their hand. And Crown existing, for red, it's nice that only red has access to it for sure, but it's just the fact that it exists it makes it annoying to play against. It makes it where it's like, man, like how do you stop it? And you really can't other than not passing with that one energy open. And it's just so impactful. Like knowledge is half the battle in Dragon Ball. We know that. How many super combos someone might have, any negates they might have. And it's like, well, hey, guess what? I know. And you don't know what I got, even going forward to the next turn. So even if it's not that turn that it matters or the knowledge is only half gain or half usable, this is the following turn. You look, oh, well, they're not killing me next turn because they don't have this. They don't have their boss monster. They don't have that, blah, 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 blah. They don't have their secret rare, so it's just the knowledge to me is why I think that's kind of the best side deck. And if you're playing red, it should always be in your side deck, hands down. There's never an argument not to, but that's kind of my take for Crown for sure.
Yeah, it's been hit, and it's still very good. My pick was also a Broly card, but I picked Broly Omen, a green card that came out of an anniversary box quite a while ago, and it came out before Z Energy was a thing. And
I would have picked
think,
that too, but it's in the main deck.
Yeah, I think this is a bannable card, honestly. I think it has an interaction that's not really intended with the current game, and it's just so easily splashable and can interrupt so much stuff that Broly Omen probably should just go. And I additionally hate it in conjunction with Explosive Dance. That sucks so bad when you get Dance and you have like 1Z energy, you swing, dump it, and then combo card to keep going, and they Omen it. It's like, oh, I hate you. This card. Why? Why are you playing a green card in a red deck? Shouldn't exist. So that one I think probably saw a lot of play this season, and will continue to if it doesn't get addressed, because they're just going to keep assuming that set 28 still focuses on Z energy. To some extent, it's going to be important. So Will and B, you guys picked the same card. Oh, you want to jump in?
Yeah, just real quick, because that Broly Omen, like you kind of said, and piggybacking off of that real quick, is it does shut down a lot of strategies, and a lot of the decks now, their awakening condition is based off of some type of Z card, right? Z this or Z Unison or Z Battle. And so to be able to take that away and even stall your opponent's awaken by a turn is very detrimental at times, right? Everyone else gets to awaken on turn 2. And then now you have a card that can take that away. And there's really only so much you can do to get around it other than maybe comboing 2 cards, right? And if they have 2 omens, then I guess you still get shit on. But that, and then also with conjunction, which we saw from the Kiku meta, with dance is actually kind of broken, right? Like saying, I can dance you here. You get your people are like, oh, swing a battle card. And then you go, okay, I'll swing my and get dance. You swing leader and go like, okay, at least I get a combo and I can keep attacking. But then what we saw kind of stem from that was, well, now I can omen the combo you just put on your leader swing. And now you're actually floodgated, right? A mini hatch type of effect, a hard floodgate if they have no more Z. And I think that's where just like that ability to slow down and awaken, and then also the ability in red specifically to basically hatch your opponent.
Yeah, and the problem with comboing 2 cards is that then they don't use it, and now you're -2, and then they save it for your super combo or something better. So it's just like a real mind trick that your opponent can play.
catch-22.
Did they draw it? Yeah, it's not. I think it's unintended. Shouldn't be there. All right, so next one is probably a big hot topic that people are probably sick of playing against. Will and B, you guys both picked the same cards. So, Will, if you want to tell us what you picked, and then B can build off of you.
Yeah, it seems like we picked Koitsukai. I mean, I think I chose this because, I primarily play green, red, and yellow. Not big on blue or black, but it doesn't matter what deck I'm playing. Koitsukai is like a 1, usually 2 of. It's always going in against those yellow matchups. It's always going in against those blue matchups. And the card's just an absolute staple. I can't think of another card that's always been there in every one of my lists, like that card has.
Yeah,
It's your bank card.
it honestly should be like the card has so many little upsides to it that like people just don't really articulate or realize, right? Like for example, Tapion is a broken deck, right? Very powerful deck. Tapion is probably arguably the best mono blue deck in my opinion. But you'll never catch me playing Tapion because Koitsukai exists. You have to be really brave. Like Raymond's real brave. He's playing he topped the Naga with Tapion. He's a real brave guy, honestly. I'm not ballsy enough to go ahead and play.
He was
a
double
deck
stacking
that relies on-
tokens with Android 21, so
That's
not
what I'm
afraid of
saying.
anything.
That's what I'm saying, though, right? Like, it's such a powerful card that, like, Cooler Mill, you can play Cooler Mill, but you got to pray to God they don't see that Koitsukai. You got to pray to God you don't mill their Koits, right? You can play these decks that play on your opponent's turn. You got to pray to God they don't have those Koits. But even, like, looking back for myself, right, reflecting on the season, right, I had in my side, and majority of my games, I never actually sided in except against yellow. And I'll be honest, like these last 2 regionals in particular, right? The games that I lost were games where I should have used Koitsukai, and for one of them, I had it engraved and I didn't use it, and it 100% cost me the game. And the other game, my leader skill warped it, and I couldn't get it back in the grave. And it made it very clear to me, reflecting on my games, man, if I just use this one card one time right here, I solidify the dubs and I keep pushing, right? It's too strong at what it does, and we have to think about it. Like, yeah, you could say, oh, only siding against this color, that color. Let's be real here. Everybody is running some sort of token negate. It's pretty uncommon to not have some sort of token negate. It's uncommon to not see your opponent play some sort of battle card in your turn. Red's got the Vegito, Black's got the Bardock counter and the SGR, right? Green lives and dies by token negate. Like that's just a fact, right? And then there's the King Cold version list, and then yellow, forget it. Blue and yellow, forget about it, right? Like everybody's playing something on your turn. So like the card is a staple forever, and it's in everybody's sideboard forever. It can arguably be in somebody's main board forever. But realistically, it does force a lot of decks out, but it's also a necessary evil where we have to keep it because of the nature of our game, how it's evolved, where there's so many battle card floodgates at the same time. So we have to keep it. It shouldn't exist. It is a toxic card, but we have to keep it.
It's definitely annoying to have to play against. Max, you picked your namesake.
Hang on.
Oh, you got Koitsukai.
I don't.
Oh no.
Yeah, I have a Koitsukai thought. This card does not even ban, bro. I think Koitsukai is fake right now. To be honest with you, I think it's always been fake. To be real with you, every time I have it, I just never activate it. I'm like, this isn't happening, bro. Let me waste 1 energy to try to get cards in here when I can just attack you for 1 energy instead. Like it's not. The one time I did activate it, it's only so I could cycle cards out of my hand. I wasn't even for the effect. I'm like, all right, well this was a waste. So like, yeah, I put it in my sideboard like maybe 1 copy because I don't know what else to put in there. But overall, it's always fallen flat for me. It just doesn't do anything 9 times out of 10, to be real with you. Like that 1 energy investment never feels good, or it just shows up too late, and you're like, well, I guess, well, yeah, this isn't happening. So I don't know. That's just me though.
No, I definitely agree with you. I think right now it's very inconsequential. Despite
Even before now, it just didn't do anything. I was like, this is a waste of space.
Well, to be fair, you're an aggro black player, so like it was never going to be. You're like, you look at one energy and you're like, you know how many things I could do with this one energy to kill you? You know what I mean? From a like,
I
that's
could
a
have a good
very.
time.
It's a good biased take. Like I get it. I agree with from your perspective. Like the hell do I need to tap one to make you pitch two when I can swing at you for 30K something and still get 2-3 cards out your hand, right? What's the difference, right? Or swing through your floodgate. And I know you used to say stuff like that all the time. Like, I don't care about half of these floodgates. I can still swing, you
That's true.
know? So
Yeah,
I
you
get
better
why.
have it, Doug. That's all I'm saying.
Right. But I will say overall, though, Koitakai, especially in the past, has had his moments of being one of the best side deck options to have, just because there were a lot of strategies. Cooler Mill, all of blue floodgates, all of yellow floodgates. And Nimbus just got this weird resurgence now, right? Nimbus wasn't really a floodgate being played, so Riposte and stuff. Green, is probably arguably you don't really care because they have DPU and uneasing. But then and black doesn't have floodgates, so you don't really care about them, and they're not doing anything on your turn, right? But so there were certain colors there where they were doing things on your turn. Even red with Topo when Topo was prevalent. Like Coits was a very annoying card always to play against, and I think it was always a really, really, really good side deck. But it has this ebb and flows. There are times where it's like it's not the right time, then there's times this is the right time, and then there's times where it's not again. All right, so I think we go through that kind of wave, and I think right now, I personally don't think this is the right time for Coits. Me and Danny have a very similar, I think, actual similar side deck for Gamma, and we have the same thought process that you have, Max. Why am I spending one to play Coits? When I could just play something else for that one energy and
Right.
kill you. All right, I don't
Genuinely,
care.
the only reason I put it in my sideboard at Natch is because it was a Judge level 2 stamp, and I'm like, that's it. It just looked cool. I'm like, whatever. Otherwise, it
Right.
just wasn't going in. I
So
don't want to look poor.
it's one of those common places for sure. I think Raymond, UX Raymond, he always says it's a 4 of, he would troll, and he said, oh, it's a 4 of in every sideboard. We're trolling not doing it. And also future ban card, we're going to get the card banned. And I think he was half right in those. 21, when he said it, 21 was prevalent. Coits was broken in the 21 format, right? It was actually silly because, like, you just literally can neg 4 your opponent and they can't even stop it. Like, there was nothing. It's not about, oh, well, what if they don't play the negate or a floodgate here? No, they have to play the token and then they just get so punished. So like I said, I think there's a time and a place for that card. But when it's really good and the format's right, it's really strong. When you're not being hyper aggressive like that.
Tell us what you picked, Max. What was your side
picked
deck card
Max.
of choice?
I picked Max Power Kami. I'm a big fan of this card. It plays into everything that I like to do in general. And I was talking to a buddy, and we're trying to figure out a good way to counter Nuova while playing black. Because at the time, people were very heavy on the 9-drop Sin. So you needed a good card to remove that on that turn too. So they couldn't, because I was obviously testing Trunks, because I wanted to play the Nationals. But I was Max Power. That was the pick for the sideboard for that matchup specifically, because I didn't want to use the markers from my Leader's Spirit Boost effect. Because if you go down one, then it just opens it up for to get killed by your opponent on the following turn, and it makes it too easy for them. So I'm like, all right, we're not doing that. So I'm gonna play Max Power Combi and shoot down all the 9-drops. But also, on the other hand, it was very good for fixing the drop, because every now and then you won't have cards to overwhelm, because unfortunately you do run out or you just don't see it, and then my Evil Sane just gets stuck in there. So I'm like, all right, how do we get it out of there? Max Power, negate, warp 4, get it back, and it's just a good recurring negate to use in certain games, because again, black doesn't really have good floodgates in general, so you just need to keep getting those good 1 energy.
Yeah, I was just gonna to piggyback, just very short. Just I've always loved that card too. All right, it's kind of cracked. All right, it's always been removal and a counter, and we play. Coming from our background of Magic and like Cryptic Command, we love cards that have modes. Right, options. Give me a card. The more options a card has, the better. And that card does both. It allows you to negate and get it back, and then still be removal. Which is kind of silly. And it also is removal, and it probably, if anything, got better over time, right? Where now everything is an 8-drop, basically. Yep. Everything that's a threat is basically an 8-drop or 6 or higher, I guess. But really, it's just an 8-drop, and you can kill SCRs. There's a 1 energy to kill literally some of the most powerful cards in the game. So
yeah, Bold Arrival. That's been tormenting people.
Oh yeah, for sure. Right. That was the concept, because on turn 2, they always play this oddly expensive, cheated into play card, and you're like, let me get rid of this somehow. And to circle back, the biggest issue again was the 9-drop Sin, and I know people shaved it down to like 2. Some people took it out completely because Daniel is a Chad and he just doesn't care. But whatchamacallit, if I play the 5-drop Trunks and your 9-drop Sin is out, I can't do anything. I'm just like, all right, whatever. This card sucks now. It's just a 20k vanilla, so I'm just like, I need to get this out of here. Like, come on, man.
All right, let's get Jerry in here. Jerry had the last pick here that nobody else chose. Jerry, what was your side deck card of the format you liked the most?
I went with Protector, the People. I mean, I sided it all the way with Red Vegeta, all the way up like Nats on everything. Just because one, it was good in the Red Vegeta mirror. Like that back with an imposing, like pretty much kill Red Vegeta's turn, right? Like every swing's a 10k swing. Also, we were expecting Frieza Swap to be heavy. As we learned, even playing into you, Bobby, that Protector's kind of good into that matchup too, right? Because you're going to keep swinging, and I'm going to keep. There's just a lot of decks in the format that I felt Protector was good into. Even Gamma, like it was decent when I would use it against Gamma because Gamma can go wide. So now it's like I'm giving you less cards from my hand, right? I just felt like there was a lot of decks where Protector was kind of good in this format because everybody wants to play these wide strategies, and it's like the less cards I gotta give you, the better I'm gonna hit you on the crackback.
Yeah, still a really strong card. Been around forever and still very impactful. All right, so a couple more left. We'll try to go through these at a little quicker pace. The biggest letdown of the season. So the deck that at the beginning of the format you were hyped for, you thought like, wow, this is gonna make waves. Everyone's talking about this. This is pretty good, and then it didn't. It didn't do that for whatever reason. So we have a couple people that picked the same one, and then we have a couple different takes. So Jerry, if you want to just keep going, you were kind of talking about her already. Your biggest letdown of the season.
Oh yeah, Frieza Swap. I mean, yeah, it won one event in EU, I think it was, but I think part of it was people still weren't kind of prepared for the deck. And also the pilot's just a really good pilot, right? Like he's a really good player. I think he made Worlds and stuff, right? I'm pretty sure. But it was so hyped. Everybody thought this deck was going to be insane. Like, it's a decent deck. It's fun. I play it. I still have it sleeved up. But from a competitive standpoint, I think once you kind of know how to play into it, it kind of just takes it down, right? Like, the good players aren't going to fall for some of the stuff. And this showed, like, at the regional, especially on Red Vegeta, I kind of demolished every Frieza swap I played against in the competitive season this year. Like, it just Red's kind of a bad matchup for the deck.
The rival specifically. Yeah.
The rival, defeating the demon are two broken cards that kind of shut that whole deck strategy down, right? So yeah, that's kind of just. I was excited for it. I mean, I got the whole deck blinged out and stuff. I still play for fun. It's still good, casual and locally and stuff. But yeah.
Maul, you picked it too. Do you want to add to Jerry?
Yeah, I picked Frieza Swap. I'll be honest, in our internal team talks, right, and trying to figure out the meta going into this, we all, not all of us, but a couple of us really thought that Frieza Swap was going to, and low-key should have been the best deck, right? We were really talking about it heavy. It checks a lot of boxes, right? Barrier cards, barrier removal, floodgates, consistent, draws a lot. Z energy, right? It checks a lot of boxes that you want from any deck in any color. That a lot of decks we play don't have the ability to do consistently, right? And Frieza Swap technically does all of those things, and it does it very well. It's a part of the strategy. You're not going out your way to do it, and so we really thought like, yo, Frieza Swap is probably going to be the future of the format, especially once we saw those TPs, which kind of gave it the extra push and that it needed. But then for some reason, it just, like Jerry said, one person won with it. I don't even know if that was in America, but
No, it was EU.
yeah. And so the guy wins with it. Cool. But then you would think, okay, now someone wins with it. Now here's the waves that we were talking about. Oh, this guy played something that we knew we were keeping in house, and we knew like, hey, this is going to be it. Someone had an opportunity before we had our time to play our first regional to go and play the deck. And then few people picked it up, but it didn't make that push. It just didn't make the waves specifically that we all really thought it should have. Not even could have. Like you read it, you look at it, I know, but Bobby was testing it from day one when we were all talking about it. He really liked the deck and whatnot, and so was Jerry and even Petrillo. Like we all, I was on the hype train too. I was like, yo, put me in, coach. I'm ready. But then it's just like, man, and I don't know why. I don't know what. It's weird for me to say this statement, but it feels like it's still missing something. Ironically, even though it does everything that you want a deck to do, it still low key feels like it's missing something.
It's just the way the deck is constructed. It's almost the perfect deck if you're solitairing by yourself and you're drawing hands. You're like, wow, I can go into this and this and this. I do this, like, or if you're Petrillo and you're just dunking on people on untap, like there's no better deck, dude. It is insane when you're doing that type of stuff. But when you enter a regional and people know what to set up against you and know how to interact with it, it falls apart. Unfortunately, it needs like a bunny girl that brings back a 3-cost or a 5-cost or something. Because very rarely, early enough in the game, do you have a 1-cost in the drop to bring back with the sorbet anyway. So, at its ceiling, at its peak, it is like a really insane deck. But it just doesn't get to reach that point enough. So that would be its problem.
It has a broken Z leader. It has a Z leader. It has a broken 8-drop, multiple of them, right? A broken 5-drop. It has free negates, right? Like 8 of them. It has 8 free negates, right? Like and then on top of that, repulse, which can be live by turn 2, realistically turn 1 if you really, need it, right? But like it literally does everything. But then it feels like it also does absolutely nothing at the same time. And like you said, even Petrillo, he would tell us, he's like, oh, if you do this, this, and that. I remember Daniel was testing the deck a little bit and TYGing, and he's like, oh, if you do this, you can have 16 cards on your awaken turn. And I'm just like, how, Sway? You know what I mean? Make it, what perfect sequence, what non-interaction are we doing to say I can have 16 cards? And I'll say this too, real quick. There was a post about Frieza Swap being broken because Petrillo played it on tab and was like, oh, Frieza Swap's crap. And Fash made a very good statement. He said, yes, the deck is really strong, but the problem is, and he said the bigger issue has not been solved, despite everything it can do, is that, yes, you have a 14, 16 card hand potentially, but your hand is full of the same cards. Nothing, right? You're still drawing 3s and 5s and 8s.
Or you're missing the one.
Or you're missing the one thing in the chain, right? And no matter what, you can have. I tested the deck, and I had 12 cards in my hand. I'm looking at my hand. I'm like, I don't have a single 5-drop. I got 3s and I got 8s, and I can only draw because if I can swap, and I can't swap, and so you put yourself in this weird precarious situation. So it's just like when you do have a big hand, it could be full of the same redundant cards, and then also it could still miss on going up the chain when you need it to the most. And then if it gets interacted with, your 3-drop dies. Yeah, the 1-drop having barrier is great, but if they just interact with your 3-drop, now you're spending more energy to maybe play another 1-drop, and then now you got to go up the chain again, and it's just
energy hungry.
Then it becomes too taxing at that point, and
everybody's playing cards in their decks anyway that kind of naturally counter it, defeating the demon, cunning trio. Green just plays a bunch of floodgates, petrification, and the counterplay are both very bad for it. And then yellow just does it. So there's a lot of stuff.
Or you run into Bobby's issue where you don't open 1-drops or the 0-cost extra.
Too soon. You don't have to leave me alone.
That is true, though, right? That is a big thing that doesn't get.
You might as well just pack it up if you don't pick up the extra card or the 1-drop in the first turn. Yeah.
It didn't get solved, and people are like, oh, well, you top 5 and you this and that with the extra card, or your leader tops 5, you're going to see the 1-drop. That's not true. We're talking about 4 cards in a 60-card deck, right?
So 1-drop.
Right. If you don't open a 1-drop, you're already playing from behind, and then even that
technically is 8, but for some reason you still don't see the extra card, which is weird.
It needs Frieza Skull to not play in rest mode. That's what it actually needs, so I can just pick up the 1-drop and play it. But yeah. All right, so Frieza Swap was a letdown. That's not to say, hey, someone can figure it out. I wouldn't be shocked to see it do well. It's still super strong. Will and Max, you guys both picked the same deck. I was also pretty hyped for this deck. I have it sleeved up right now. Max, you want to go through your pick?
I tried. I really did. This deck was read so cool. It drew so many cards. It's Golden Cooler, by the way. My apologies. But it's just like all the cards read so well. Like you're warping cards out of the hand. You got hand control. You got removal on a stick. You have this. You're drawing on both players' turns. So like, how is this bad? But then for some reason, it just kind of crumbles, and you're just like, huh, that's weird. Maybe you don't have enough names, even though I swear I've put like 80% of the cards, 90% of them are names for the deck to pitch to draw to, and then you just don't see them. It doesn't make any sense. And then you pivot, you play aggro, which is arguably better, but then you run into worse aggro problems where everyone can just counter what you're doing because it's just it feels bad, and I just get very confused as to why it doesn't function the way it should. I mean, I agree with Miguel when he said to me when we were testing it that if this was a yellow deck, it'd be broken. It's because it should have been a yellow deck, to be honest with you, because it reads like a yellow deck, but it doesn't have the tools that it needs to survive like one, unfortunately. Which really sucks. I'm still gonna try it. It's a really cool leader. He looks cool. Cooler is probably my favorite villain in the game, so we'll give it another try and see what happens. I'm a glutton for punishment, but yeah, it's just tough. It's tough, and I was high on it, and that's even with the promo that came out, it's still not enough because it's turning it into the aggro version, which you kind of have to play, but it's not doing what the deck was meant to do.
You can only play that card if your Unison bridges, and your Unison never bridges.
It's tough.
Yeah. Will, you also picked Golden Cooler.
Yeah, specifically, I think it was just the printing of the Cumber promo. Like, that card's insane. For 2 energy, spawn 25k double strike that spawns 2 more. Make some blockers, make some more 25ks, warp some cards in hand. You choose, right? Draw some cards. So, on paper, the deck's really good, right? But I think it only had one top 16. I don't know where it placed in top 16, but only one throughout wave 1 so far. So, I've played against that deck too, and I guess it does just kind of have some weaknesses. You floodgate the deck, not much it can do. So, cool deck, but maybe thought it was going to do a bit better.
Yeah, that's the crazy part. The promo lets you use the card's effects, and it's still not enough. It doesn't make any sense.
I'm not gonna lie, that promo is like absolutely ridiculously broken. But then, like you guys said, it just feels like I feel like it doesn't solve the problem of what the deck has.
No, it does not solve the problem at all. It adds a different layer to it, but it's a layer that the deck didn't actually need.
The hand size.
That's the issue.
It's the hand size. The draw power is not consistent enough, and the deck is a little too reliant on Z Unisons. Because I tried as well, like once I got my hands on the promos, I gave it a good try for about a week straight, and consistently I just found, man, this is just a catch-22 deck. And on top of that, too, it's like, okay, what super combo package do I want to do, right? Because now you're tempted to run the Cumber super combo because you can search it, and that seems like a great idea, but you need Z energy to play your Z Unison, you need your Z energy for other stuff, and you're like, oh my god, what am I doing? Like, but I guess I got to run Vegeta, but Vegeta can't grab, and if you whiff it on the top 3, now it goes to the bottom, you're like, it's like, okay, that's a problem, but if the Unison dies, it's a problem, this dies, it's a problem, it's like, it's too much. Like, it's too much flimsy
Whack-a-mole.
pieces. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 2 energy plays better be like, there's, I think of 2 energy plays as solidarity. That's what it needs to be. Or the 8 drop from the old Meki Kabora deck. Like that. If you're paying 2, I mean, it's kind of crazy that the game is at this point, but if you're paying 2 for something, it has to be like, or the 8 drop in Red Vegeta, just like something gross and win the game. And playing 2 bodies that get floodgated is not that, unfortunately. But
yeah,
all right,
I think the
go.
Unison.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I think the Unison had to be like a 20k or something, even if they go with the DBR route where it just can't attack. But it's just too important to the deck. And if it dies, you just lose the game. So
yeah, the marker reset, getting rid of power neg. If that rule got changed, then I could get it up to 20k, and then the marker getting knocked off doesn't reset it back to 15. Then the Unison could bridge, but that rule. Preventing that is really detrimental for the deck. All right, Daniel, you had kind of, I'd say, the spiciest of all these picks here for the biggest letdown, if you want to go through yours.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit tough to say, honestly, due to recent events, but my pick is Iron Broly. Me and B had high hopes for this deck when it first came out. The archetype is good, 25k base leader, sounds good, and it is good. obviously. But it performed well in Europe when it first came out. Didn't really do much here in the States up until recently. And yeah, I mean it's a great deck, but it's kind of just been a letdown.
Would you lose to in the finals? Remind me, what was
Oh,
that?
dude. Get this guy out of here.
Too soon, brother. Too soon. But yeah, I mean, we tested it a lot. We try to make it work, and like I said, it's good, but people just keep on swinging 25s at you. You, and it's super linear, right? You got the release, you got the token negate, and you don't really have, and then you got the Bojack free negate, as well as the Vegeta counterplay. And like after that, once people get through that, your hand size dwindles, and it just kind of fizzles out.
Yeah, BR also picked a leader from this the set that we just got that really I think fits this category.
Yeah, for me, I picked the BG27 Piccolo, the green Piccolo. I was really, really depressed that the deck just didn't pop off because you look at the leader and you're like, okay, so hold on a second. You got a green leader that is green blue. So you have access to Bean, you have access to Prospect, you have access to a lot of cool stuff, but you're in a green leader, so you have access to Dormant. That's already great. And they're going to tell me, oh, but also everything in your deck is a 10k combo. Oh, and also you have free Sensu Bean. Oh, and also your field card gives you free 5k boost once per turn. Oh, and also even if your opponent's minus your revive cards, the permanent on the field lets you KO them, so you can actually just revive them and play around red. And then and also you got a Purunga that makes it so you don't have to discard a card for revive. Bro, that sounds broken. Let's be real here. That sounds amazing. And your leader doesn't have to swing to draw cards. How does like how has nobody cracked the code? And we know like the deck is just a hyper aggressive deck that does crazy crit pressure, and like you can do like 14 damage on turn 3. Genuinely, you can take people down in life. But the problem is you got to get that engine going for the Purunga. You got to get this going, and your draw power. Even though your leader doesn't have to swing to draw, you still got to pay energy to draw, which is a problem. It can be a problem, but also your draw power isn't as high as the other decks that have come out recently, where it's like if you get stalled, if you get floodgated, if you get slowed down at turn 4, turn 5, you just can't. You don't have the oomph to close out the game, and they didn't give you a boss monster really. We got Fathead Piccolo. Cool, I can swing triple strike if I dump 3 energy into it. Great. I'm not doing that. They needed to give me a boss monster that isn't just pay 2 for solidarity because my leader's green. And that I think that's the problem was it needed a top end, like a real top end for the archetype. And I think the deck probably could have done something serious. And I still think the deck has potential, but right now, like we just need a top end.
Yeah, if you could put together 2 or 3 turns in a row where you hit the Dragon Ball, the Purunga, and all the stuff that the deck's supposed to do, it is actually a really crazy deck. But it's just inconsistent, and when you miss those cards, it just falls apart, unfortunately. So, yeah, that's a perfect anniversary box deck, right? If you give it something to just a little piece of consistency and a finisher, that seems like it's prime for some support. My pick, which I feel like got a lot of hype in the community and then did absolutely nothing with the promos it got, was Yellow Darla Jr. I heard all about this deck by the SPRs. This is coming out. It's going to be impossible to play against. Oh my god! And then people were paying big money for the promos to start. People were paying big money for the old promos, and then it just did nothing. So maybe it's still lingering out there. Maybe there's someone watching this that has the list and is going to show up somewhere and just blow everybody out with the Yellow Darlic. But it has not done anything to this point, and I haven't even really seen anybody tinker. Honestly, It hasn't even come. I don't think anyone's played against it in a tournament. I mean, it's just non-existent. So I think that was a letdown. All right, our last one. I think everyone picked a different card for this one, so this is pretty interesting. Daniel picked a sequence, so I'll start with Daniel. The favorite card of the format, which is also kind of a letdown if you watched on Saturday. But the favorite card of the format, your personal favorite card to play, Daniel?
Yo, stop reminding me, please. But yeah, I mean the 17 and yeah, thank you. The 17 in Gamma is just nutty, and if you can do the thing, draw 2 and actually find the card and do the trucker hat thing, it's excuse me, the Android 13. It's great. Feels good. Great card. If you can see it.
Jamal, you already talked about your card at length, so you can just remind us your favorite card to play this season.
Right. Can I just say to Danny's thing real quick too? I'm sorry. Is the 17 in the trucker? I mean, it's kind of cracked. It is a +3, I think. Right. I think that's the math. So I agree with them. Unfortunately, it's not a card, but weird behavior.
Leave it to Dan.
But no, my favorite card is Hatch. I mean, especially if we're just in general to play. Yeah, Hatch, always and forever. You guys already know why. If you watch that part, it's just Hatch. No point in going down that rabbit hole again. So,
Beer Yar, you picked a pretty cool one.
Yeah, I chose the BT-27 Beast Gohan SR, the Beastie Boys, as I love to call it. Card's honestly one of the best cards in red. It fixes the problem in a majority of red decks. It lets you push super hard in red and lets you play around a lot of good floodgates. In all seriousness, when I was playing in all these events and all these regionals this past quarter, I'm gonna be real with y'all. 90% of my games, the turn that I summoned Beast Gohan, I won on that same turn. 90% of the time. Like, there's no you play through dance, your opponent goes Vegito counter, like, cool, I'm gonna rest this card and combo it off anyways and keep pushing. Oh, I do that. I don't care. I'm gonna keep pushing. I don't care. I'm gonna keep swinging. And even if it's a case where if they don't even like, you don't kill your opponent on that turn. If you just leave the Beast Gohan up in rest mode, you pass your opponent. They gotta waste removal on it because if they don't, it's a 5k combo for you and a minus 10k on one of their battle cards. It's a free 15k combo, basically. The card is absolutely broken, and it will forever be a staple in every single red deck in this game, forevermore.
I've been coming to buy out with your behavior.
Here it comes, yeah. Will, you picked an SCR for this one, and not the strongest card in the format, which is cool. I like that. What was your pick?
Yeah,
Here?
I thought somebody had to say it, right? I think the card that was printed most recently that I think is just the coolest and I'm most excited to keep crafting with is the Green Adventure Secret Rare. For 1 energy, that card is cracked. You can restand Solidarity. So when you run it in Adventure, it gets played with Barrier for the turn cycle, and then it's also protected by the Leader skill. I mean, the card's great. And then, you can resolve the auto on your opponent's turn again to restand a card and draw a card. Super, super cool card for 1 energy in green that can come out as soon as turn 3. Opens up a ton of lines.
Yeah, it's super slept on. I think people are starting to see it now. It's come to
I mean, there's always going to be Cell Xeno, but like that one's right up there with the top.
Jerry, you also picked a card from your favorite deck.
Yeah, I went with the red Jiren Z Innocent. It was kind of a cool boost to the Z deck for red. A lot of floodgate stop battle card swings, but not unison swings. So I pretty much have one in like every Z deck for red. Also, just being a dual attacker, broken, a free negate for a minus, and then half the time it eats up 2 more attacks because they're going to try to remove the other 2 markers off of it. So kind of just, you get value. It's like, okay, you swing at this and kill it versus swinging at me and I stop 3 of your attacks basically, right? So, I don't know. It's kind of cool. It was a good boost to the red Z deck. Most of the red Z deck was just multiple copies of the same cards, but now with these red Z Unisons, we kind of have more options of things we can play and do.
Max, you also picked a card from your Nats topping deck.
Yeah, it's definitely like probably my favorite deck at the moment, and for a good while, it's really cool. I picked Super Saiyan God from Stealing Power. Had I known we could have picked sequences, I would have done the whole thing like Daniel. But so I had to pick one out of the 3 cards, and this was the one because it just ends games and puts them into a corner every time. The Flying Nimbus, I'm like, cool, I'll just go straight into this and put you from 6 to 3. Yeah, good luck with the rest of the game, Doug. And it hasn't done me wrong.
Yeah, super broken 8-drop. I picked an SCR. I picked the yellow Vegeta SCR just because I'm going to enjoy it while it lasts, and it costs a lot of money. And every time I get to play it, I feel like I'm cashing in a little bit of the coin I spent on it. And it digs you out of these situations that other cards can't. I've blown up some pretty crazy boards with it. I've generated a ton of markers. It's not as good in decks where they don't have like clean 1 energy plays, like it's super strong in Nova, and it also is super strong in Swap where everything's 1 energy. So you get to go up the chain a whole bunch of times. It's just every time I played that card, I smiled. So I really enjoyed it. All right, so I prepared these guys for that question. I'm going to hit them with one question that I did not prepare them for off the cuff before we leave. I'm sure people are interested in their takes here. On the upcoming, if we did a ban list and there's one card, you had the hammer, you could call Bandai. You know, your dad works for Bandai, and you could say, Dad, ban this card for me. This is the one card that needs to go the most. Whether you like it, dislike it, whatever. But this is the card that has to go. Only one. We can go rapid fire here. BRR, what's your pick?
Absolute Annihilation, hands down.
Daniel, what do you got?
Daddy Bandai, please ban Brody Omen. Fuck that card.
Jamal?
Yeah, you gotta come back to me on that one.
All right, we're coming back. He's speechless, ladies and gentlemen. It has happened. Max?
Come back to me.
I don't.
They need to look. They don't do their homework, and then when I don't ask them to do the homework, they can't come up with one.
I'm gonna be honest. Whether I did the homework or not, I still wouldn't have known that answer to that.
Jerry, give me one card that needs to go.
One card that I think needs to be.
Man, this is a hard one, but I'm gonna say wrong game. I'm gonna say, man, this is a hard one.
I'm ready.
Good.
Man, it's Annihilation.
Yeah, go ahead.
Christ.
I think Annihilation. There's just so many decks have they stop the extras and stuff. So yeah, I think it's Annihilator. Like,
Yeah. The Wombo
Shut up.
combo needs to go.
or Gogeta SCR. You could hit that too and let everybody lose money.
Please, dude. I've lost enough on this.
That's funny.
All right, you guys that needed extra time, you got your extra time. Give me one card that needs to go.
I'm not ready.
I can fill the time with a card that didn't need to go, which was SS4 Goku Beyond All Limits, which black was the worst color of this format by tops, and that card didn't hurt anybody. So
That hurt my feelings a
I'm
little
very
bit.
upset that card went and was not. I don't know who told Bandai that was the one, but it wasn't. Bring it back, please. I need to search my deck for some cards. I need that. What do you think? 17? That needs to go. Number one card. Ban it.
I know it's itchy. Fuck, I don't know. It's weird.
I would be honest, but I had to think about it, and I know a lot of people probably don't agree because he kind of mentioned it a couple days ago. But the Gohan SH card is kind of busted. It does exactly what Dirty Burst does.
Oh
We
my
kind
god!
of hit on it. We kind of hit
End the
on it a
video.
little
Just
bit.
edit this out, please.
I'm just saying, dude.
Post, please.
Because because it made it so games couldn't be played anymore. I understand every now and then it has awkward sequencing just because of how the Gamma deck specifically works. But other decks, they don't have that problem. Obviously, in the deck it was meant for, it's just you play it and you do it. But it's just like we're in a world where there's not enough one drops early game to be like, oh, bottom deck can swing. It just stops turns 2, 3. Arguably, it could potentially stop turn 4 if you have it. But it's a very good floodgate. It's yes, you don't draw, but you get a warm body you could potentially swing with. But if you're smart enough, you probably don't.
What a terrible friend.
It be your own people. It's
guy's
100% be
problem.
your own people every time.
He hasn't even play tested with us, and he's just calling us out.
Right.
Hey, I've seen the tapes, Doug. Like,
It's not fair. I ain't gonna hold you the amount of times somebody said to me, they're like, if that wasn't for that card, I would have won the game. Like that card, they're like that card won you the game, pointing at it while it's on the board. And I'm like,
oh yeah, that's the
what it
point
was,
of the card. Like, I understand. Like, yeah, that's the point of it. And so I do win the game. But they're also probably correct because they couldn't do anything for 2 turns. Like,
They
it's
should have sided Crown.
There's a million ways to interact with that card. I also hate playing against it, but
But there's more. It's I don't resolve it every time. Somehow they stop it.
you can get it.
yeah. But if you get to go first though, then it just doesn't. You don't have an answer, and then their turn 2 is just dead.
Everyone's waiting on me.
Come on, Mom,
Yep.
give us one. It's got to go.
All
You want me
right.
to do mine?
Yeah. I'm still. No, I don't even know what yours was. I wasn't even listening. I was thinking. I'm
I
sorry.
didn't
I
tell
love
you
you.
yet.
Oh, what's yours? Wait,
Want me to
where
kill
am I
him one time?
going? Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think Hey Shenron needs to go.
Okay.
It's a hit to an archetype that's been around long enough. Usually that happens. You know, we did nothing wrong with Go Hanks, and we lost the double striker out of there. You could put it to 1, so it's super annoying, and I have to wonder the whole game if this is the time you have it, I guess, which is even worse. But I think that card needs to go. I think Nova could probably still live without it. Energy, the Dotu SS4 Dotu also should go. But if we're looking at art type stuff, I think it has to be Hey Shenron. All right, I killed enough time, Jamal. Give me one card.
I'm gonna just say that we've never banned a SCR, and I don't even want it to be banned. But I'll say Gogeta. I guess Gogeta SCR, and it's
tonight.
funny because it's only because, as like I
banned
say, in
SCR
my own
before.
experience against the card specifically with Gamma, I don't really give a fuck. But I do. If I wasn't playing Gamma, I'd probably care a little bit more and a lot more because I do. It creates a situation that is low key like kind of unfair when it is, and that's not good. And your yellow doesn't like yellow's weakness or benefit is the more energy you get, the more things yellow can do. That's been every deck, especially since Higher Dragon. And then you're basically saying, hey, here's a shit ton of energy to do whatever the fuck you want. And like that is low key kind of crack. You know what I mean? I mean high key. And it probably shouldn't exist. Like to be honest, that Unison not Unison, that SCR really shouldn't have even been printed the way that it was printed. And a version of it could have existed. So maybe we could say an errata, but it just look, we're not gonna errata it, ban it because it does warp playstyle. It does warp the game. It does affect. And granted, yeah, people win with Piccolohan and they don't play it, but that's fine. If you win with Piccolohan, that's okay. But the point is, and that being able to have the Gogeta, fine. I don't even think losing Gogeta makes yellow worse.
Dude, the world
Right?
champion didn't even play it.
Right.
Come
But that's
on.
the
That part
thing.
of
It
that
doesn't
match.
kill the
True.
color.
It's not that good, honestly.
Yeah, apparently. But no, like I don't know. I really wouldn't even want to say Gogeta SCR because we don't ban SCRs. But I mean, I guess if I had to choose,
Sell
like from a
zero
power
for
level, all right, I would say errata. I don't, to be honest, and that's why I saw it from the thing, which is very important to say. I don't think anything really needs to be banned right now. Like
There's one card. There's one card for sure that we didn't mention. I'm gonna take mine back. Fuck Brody Omen. I really don't care. That was just like a selfish like wish list type of idea. But a card that will be banned pretty soon is 6-drop Goku or yellow, and it needs to go.
the U7 one.
Yeah, just kill U7. Just take that. Just take it away.
It'd be your own people.
It's still
I just
tops,
don't
dude.
understand.
The deck's still tops.
But
Still
I just don't.
tops.
My take is I don't think any. I generally don't look at the format or the card pool and say, "Yo, we need a ban list." Personally, I think things can be errated, right? Certain things should be a little bit tinkered, maybe limited, right? Like Haze should be limited potentially. I don't think it needs to get banned. If they got the one of, they got the one of. Stuff like that. I just don't see anything that's so glaringly like, "Yo, this card needs to go." But
One energy for potentially 5 to 7 swings doesn't need to go. You kidding me? It's the best
Closer
closer in the game right now.
They got to see it. They got to see it. I don't know. It's SCR. They got to see Yellow Gogeta. It's an SCR, right? So
Yeah, but yellow all SCRs. Yellow is all
it's
SCRs.
another SCR, and you know that they got to find it first. So
It's worse in combination with the Goku, with the Annihilation card, for sure. But, all right, well, nobody friendly fired Jerry and Birriar and said that Rose needs to go or Dark Broly with color energy needs to go.
I will say this as a Red Vegeta player, and I've maintained this before too. Tenacious, Evil Saiyan, and Cumber need to be locked to black leaders, and that's it. That's all that has to happen. Lock that, and we're golden. Because if you even hit the red-black Broly's, I'm still going to run Tenacious in my deck. I still might run Evil Saiyan. I still might run Cumber. But I'm telling you, if you do not lock those cards, you say this, but I'm telling you, I will charge them all black and Tenacious. I don't care.
I know you will. I know you will.
You know I will.
Not to do that.
I can't wait until you're freaking out over that black energy not being red, dude.
I don't care. I'm going to do it.
All right. Well, that wrapped up all of our. Oh, finish up, Max. Last thought.
I hope they don't touch anything with Vegeta because I want to play that matchup every single day of the week. I genuinely, and I think a lot of us here agree. I know at least 2 other people do that matchup is the cakewalk, and I'm not going to go into any more detail besides that. But keep it up.
right. Run it, please. Run it. Play it. Thank you. Appreciate
Every
you.
time.
Well, we've had 38 leaders top this format, and 20, I think the number was 21 or 22 leaders top at least more than once. So it is a very diverse format. So, I mean, they could hit nothing. That's very possible. Just let the anti-box play out and then go into set 28 and see where we're at. Maybe there's some strategies there that they want to protect by hitting previous cards. But that was quite the episode. If you enjoyed it, leave us a like, give us a comment, tell us what we got wrong, what card you want to see banned, any of these hot takes that we attempted to make here. You can agree, disagree, just throw us a comment. We'd appreciate it, and we'll be back with some more content coming up. Hopefully some more Fusion World stuff too. So thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone, for joining. Appreciate it.
Deuces.